New details on suspected Chinese balloon and its payload.
On the Chinese spy balloon, we are learning much more about its payload as search teams off the South Carolina coast gather debris from the balloon. Our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, has been tracking the story for us from Washington. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Robin. A senior U.S. official telling ABC News this morning that they believe they will be able to retrieve the entire payload, that part at the bottom of the balloon that was gathering intelligence. The official said it is damaged, but they are confident they can eventually piece it all together. This morning, recovery crews in the Atlantic scouring the wreckage field from the Chinese spy balloon for sensitive equipment, a debris field the size of more than 15 football fields by 15 football fields. ABC News confirming the first pieces of wreckage now at an FBI lab in Quantico.
I'll look at this in a second.
Saturday's shoot-down of the balloon ending its week-long travel over the continental U.S. An F-22 fighter jet finally bringing the first pieces of wreckage
I'll be back in 1 second.
Now at an FBI lab in Quantico. Saturday's shoot-down of the balloon ending its week-long travel over the continental U.S. An F-22 fighter jet finally bringing it down just off the coast of South Carolina.
Rank 1, last one. The balloon is completely destroyed.
An official telling ABC that the spy balloon had optical surveillance capabilities as well as the ability to intercept electronic transmissions. There were at least 4 previous attempts by China to send a spy balloon over the U.S., but those incursions, brief and off the U.S. coast, were not detected until sometime later, prompting this startling statement from the head of NORAD.
It's my responsibility to detect threats to North America. I will tell you.
This fit is crazy. This fit goes crazy, bro.
That we did not detect those threats, and that's a domain awareness gap that we have to figure out.
The U.S. intelligence community has linked the Chinese spy balloon shot down on Saturday to a vast surveillance program run by the People's Liberation Army, and the U.S. officials have begun to brief allies and partners who have been similarly targeted. The surveillance balloon effort, which has operated for several years, partly out of the Hainan province off China's south coast, has collected information on military assets of countries and areas of emerging strategic interest to China, including Japan, India, Vietnam, Taiwan, and the Philippines. So it is the same ones that we saw. That's the take. Or that's the speculation. I understand why they would send it over fucking Japan, India, Vietnam, whatever. But the idea that they would send this over America is so fucking silly to me. It has to be a flex or something. Because it completely undermines the point of... It undermines the point of, like, spying. You know what I mean? It undermines the point of spying when you're, like, very openly doing it. So what could it be? If it undermines the point of espionage when you are very deliberately doing it because everyone can see it, then it has to be like a flex or something. You know what I mean? But ultimately, like I said, if it was anything that was super severe, the American government would have shot this motherfucker on top of Alaska. Okay? So clearly, like, even if it is a surveillance equipment, they would have shot it. They would have shot it before it fucking got to American waters. Let's be real. So I still think that, like, while on the one hand, even if it's a surveillance thing, it's not like, and this is the Pentagon's own statements, by the way. The surveillance that this balloon was capable of doing is not anything different than the conventional surveillance techniques that China has. This is not my statement. This is the Pentagon statement, which is part of the reason why they like chose to make a video or chose to make a fucking media play on this rather than immediately blow it up and like not even talk about it. Because if it was super severe, I feel like you would not have even heard about it. They would have, they would have just like destroyed it. Officials have said the surveillance airships operated in part by the PLA Air Force have been spotted over 5 continents. What the Chinese have done is taken an unbelievably old technology and basically married it with modern communications observation capabilities to try and glean intelligence over other nations' military, said one official. It's a massive effort. We do that too. By the way, we use balloons as well in an identical capacity. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman led a briefing on China's balloon espionage for some 150 people. Separately, U.S. officials have begun to share specifics with officials in countries such as Japan, whose military facilities were targeted by Beijing. Many of them recognize... Dude, I can't take it seriously. It's a balloon, man. There's something about the whimsical nature of a balloon that leads me to literally feel like we're having a conversation about a fucking balloon, dude. It's so odd. Maybe that's the real psyop all along, that China was like, we're going to use the lamest thing to spy on you so that you don't even think we're actually spying on you, because like it's impossible. It's impossible for me to say it with a straight face. It's like, it's a balloon, dude. It's like a kid gets sad when it's lost and it flies up into the space. Next time it will be a kite. Yeah, I mean, it's like, even a kite has like edges, right? So I can even understand why a kite could possibly be, like, I could see a kite being like relatively more dangerous than a balloon. The balloon is just like a spherical object. Like, obviously kites are for children too. So like that in and of itself is also funny, but like, you know, there have been serious utilizations of kites in the past, but a balloon is so round and it gives people joy. It's this rotund thing. It's so silly. Many of them recognize that they too may be vulnerable or susceptible to this object of interest to the PRC. Or an object of interest to the PRC. Many countries are terrified if the balloon is a funny fucking take, no matter which way you cut it. Okay? Like, leaders of 47 governments have no answer for this balloon is a hilarious thing to say. And I think maybe that's the real psyop all along, actually. Why did everyone immediately assume the balloons from China? Bro, they track the flight path like it's not. That's the other thing I'm saying. It's like you can track the fucking flight path of this thing. So that's also the other reason why it's so dumb to use it for like surveillance, especially in America. Atmosphere altitudes above where commercial jets fly, using balloons that fly between 60,000 and 80,000 feet or higher, officials said. Analysts still don't know the size of the balloon fleet, but there have been dozens of missions since 2018, said one U.S. official. They don't know how many balloons China has. Again, guys, we do not know how severely damaging the Chinese balloon operation could be. There could be so many more balloons out there in their balloon fleet. Analysts still don't know the size of the balloon fleet. They take advantage of the technology provided by a private Chinese company that is part of the country's civil military fusion effort, a program by which private companies develop technologies and capabilities used by the PLA. In a news briefing Saturday, senior Pentagon officials alluded to the PLA program, noting that balloons had been operating elsewhere in the Western Hemisphere. These balloons are all part of the PRC fleet of balloons developed to conduct surveillance operations, which also violated the sovereignty of other countries, said one senior defense official. He followed up by saying, only we get to violate the sovereignty of other countries, not you, China. The fuck do you think you're doing? The official flatly rejected China's assertion that the airship moving over the United States was a weather balloon blown off course. This is false. This was a PRC surveillance balloon. This surveillance balloon purposely traversed the United States and Canada, and we are confident it was seeking to monitor sensitive military sites. Okay, but then they lied. If that's the case, then they also lied, because they said that the balloon is a surveillance balloon, but its surveillance capabilities are not anywhere different from like other conventional surveillance capabilities that like every big government currently has. So why did they lie about that then? You know what I mean? Because they said both of those things. They said that it's a balloon, it's a surveillance balloon, but also fear not, it's not that big of a deal. It's whatever. You know what I mean? It's like they already have other surveillance methods, so they're not like getting any new information. Breaking: the top general from NORAD admits the U.S. military did not detect the earlier Chinese spy flights during the Trump admin, and John Kirby says, I can tell you that we discovered these flights after we came into office.
Camera press briefing with reporters. The top general for NORAD in North America admitted the U.S. military did not detect the earlier Chinese spy flights during the Trump administration. John Kirby also spoke earlier with reporters.
I can tell you that we discovered these flights after we came into office, and there's I'm not going to get into the specifics of how we did the forensics. I think you can understand that we're going to be careful about that.
Earlier, during an off-camera press briefing with reporters, the top general for NORAD in North America admitted the U.S. military.
The U.S. defense strategy is increasingly driven by not ceding technological superiority to China. Now, the appearance of a possible Chinese reconnaissance craft in the U.S. airspace raises the specter of a balloon gap being potentially added to a list of concerns about China after it has already demonstrated advanced capabilities in hypersonic missiles and artificial intelligence. We don't have a balloon gap. We have balloons too. I don't know why people are writing in the Wall Street Journal that we do not have balloons. Make no mistake, we here in the United States do have balloons. I know that sounds like a really stupid thing to hammer, but like even the concept of a balloon gap is funny to begin with, but we definitely also have balloons, so it's non-existent. This slimy fuck giving his take, he says, unfortunately, if you can't defend from a balloon over Montana, the chances that you're going to help Taiwan are low. That's what Xi Jinping is testing. But he was the former U.S. Secretary of State and a director of the CIA. Like, what is he talking? Bro, you didn't have it either. What the fuck? Brother, you got balloon gapped. Okay? You got balloon gaped, actually. Hassan, I think they're talking about military balloons, not carnival balloons. Bro, you think the military doesn't have fucking military balloons? What are you, stupid? Are you crazy? Pentagon testing mass surveillance balloons across the U.S. And as is the case with everything that happens domestically, this is like probably a 20-year project. Maybe I'm making up 20 years, but this already was tested in Afghanistan and Iraq. You can bet your fucking ass on it, okay? I know they used some version of this in Afghanistan, and now they're using it in America too. You think that, are you crazy? You think we don't have fucking balloons, dude? Yeah, look, here. U.S. military to use high-altitude balloons against China and Russia. This is from 2022. Spy balloons become part of the Afghanistan landscape, stirring unease. That's from 2012, dog. We've been using it for like 20 fucking years. Not 20, 10 years, but I mean, we've been using it since World War II, for the record. Like, we've had some form of like balloon warfare for a very long time. But surveillance balloons have been technology that the U.S. military has been using for a while. There you go. U.S. military's newest weapon against China and Russia, hot air. This is from July 5th, 2025. I mean, 2022. What the fuck? My brain is like literally not working anymore. I'm sorry. Introduction, 1980. Tethered aerostat radar systems is an American low-level airborne ground surveillance system that uses aerostats, moored balloons as radar platforms. Did it to China in the 50s. U.S. sent weather balloons to spy on China and the Soviet Union. That's awesome. The U.S. sent weather balloons to spy on China and the Soviet Union in the 1950s. When caught, the Eisenhower administration lied through his teeth about it. Not so different, I guess. It's understandable that the U.S. government would be suspicious given that America sent spy balloons exactly the same size over both the Soviet Union and China in 1956 and made exactly the same claims as China is making today about what we were up to. Except when we did it, that was like cutting edge technology. You know what I mean? That's why it makes it so much dumber that like China would be utilizing this when they have way better methods of like actually surveilling the continental United States. So I don't know if this is like actually a legitimate, honest to God Chinese spy tech. Okay, but it doesn't make sense as to why it would be, considering that, like the Pentagon said, they have better They have better methods. Now, is it understandable that they blew it up? Of course it is. Even if it's literally a weather balloon. Okay? That I do understand. Except what I don't understand is why they didn't blow it up before it made its way directly into Montana and the United States airspace. Why didn't they blow it up over Alaska, for example? These are the questions I have. If it's a severe thing, why didn't you deal with it ahead of time? You've been tracking it since it fucking left the Chinese airspace. Why didn't they blow it up? So we'll see. We'll eventually find out, I hope. Also, the General Mills balloons were supplied to the U.S. Air Force Project Genetrix, a secret program to garner electronic and photographic information on communist countries. Except, remember, this was at a time when, like, it made sense to use fucking balloons over, like, traversing over long distances, versus now, it doesn't really. Does that make sense? Because there are better methods. You can just, you know, if you don't want to use satellites, you could use planes. Like, it's not like, you know, Chinese nationals are not allowed to fucking fly over U.S. territory. They have freedom of travel. Like, you know what I mean? You can strap on a fucking camera to a private jet. GG's. Didn't the Pentagon just put out something a few years ago about their own surveillance balloons? Yes, they did. They also have TikTok, which is, you know, different, but. Okay, you're starting to sound like a conspiracy theorist now. Wait, what? It's not a conspiracy that the Chinese government is actively spying on the U.S. government. Just like it's not a conspiracy theory that the American government is actively spying on the Chinese government. That is not a conspiracy. That's just objectively true. Of course it's true. My man's a conspiracy theist. No, I'm a conspiracy atheist, dude. Anyway. But yeah, the balloon saga has been very interesting. Very interesting to follow through on. I personally am very fond of the balloon story.
Be casualties on the ground, and there will be numerous classified briefings on the Hill today with all senators briefed on Thursday. George?
So many questions to be answered. Martha, thanks.